Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. We talk each week, folks, about the digital marketing world. It's loud, it's crowded. You need to get the correct message to the correct people. So you need pros like Drago and his team at Oak City Tech. So go to oakcitytech.com. Let them know what you're looking for. I know they'll be able to help you. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week on Triangle BNI, we bring you a local small business success story. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle, Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. Each week, about 31 chapters and around 530 members get together, and our job is to help each other grow their business. And our local small business success story is Emily Jolley. Emily is a USHealth advisor. She is also part of RDO6 Profits in the Park. They meet Tuesdays at 9 a.m. at Hope Community Church in Morrisville, where Emily is the visitor host, which tells you she's very nice. Emily, good to have you on the show. How are you today?
Thanks, Mike. It's great to be on the show, and I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing well now that we got all of our technical issues out of the way. It's a
I
mad
know.
scramble, which is why I ask everybody to log on early. You just never know. So,
You never know. That was smart.
yep. Yeah, we have our moments. Yes. So glad to have you, U.S. Health Advisor. So, what I've learned in BNI and doing the show is this insurance stuff, it scares us. It's like, oh my God, what do I need? What do I have? Do I really need it? But the other thing I've learned is people don't, especially in your world, in health insurance, life insurance, all the good stuff, they don't realize how many options they have. And with someone like you, I mean, they can call and get a ton of options that I'm sure they never knew existed.
That's so true. We are kind of under the radar in so many ways. Most people think that their options for health insurance are either their employer,
Mm.
their spouse's employer, or the marketplace. And while those are all really good options, they're not necessarily your best options, and they're certainly not your only option. So we are an independent private insurer who can do a lot of things that your more standard ACA or employer plan can't do.
I know you get a number of calls from people, probably a lot of times in transition.
Mhm.
And they're probably, I won't say the word freaked out, but I bet they are very concerned on how quick can I make sure me and or my family is covered.
Yes, absolutely. We get a lot of people who are leaving jobs or starting their own business. Self-employed people are some of our biggest market because their only option at that point is the marketplace, which is great if you have pre-existing conditions or if you qualify for a good subsidy, meaning that the government pays for a portion of your health coverage. If you don't, or if you prioritize coverage over cost, then we're a better option for you.
Small business ownership, we're excited to do it. We're looking to cut costs. What do I really need to spend in the first couple of months? And I always feel like in your world, it's kind of like when we fly and the flight attendants are doing the walkthrough at the beginning where they show you the placard and the exit line, stuff like that, exit doors. But the most important thing they tell us is when the oxygen mask drops down and you are with a small child, put yours on first.
Mhm.
And I feel it's that way with small business owners. They got to take care of themselves first because the business is dependent on them.
Absolutely. And often, if you're owning a small business, you're probably traveling, right? You're
Mhm.
probably, at least going from Raleigh to Durham to Chapel Hill. You're probably traveling a little bit outside of the state. Our coverage is nationwide. So why would you limit yourself to only being able to go to UNC or Duke when with our plans you can go anywhere you want? That's taking care of yourself. If you have cancer and you want to go to John Hopkins, you don't want an insurance company telling you, no, that's not a network, right? So we're able to put people in the best place, especially if they're traveling. So, travel nurses, anybody who is traveling for business or even going on vacation a lot. If you've retired and you haven't hit 65, good option for you.
you're coming up on a year as a health advisor. What are some of the neatest things you've learned about how you can help people?
Well, before I did this, I worked in small businesses.
Mm.
So I was very familiar with the challenges of offering health coverage to the employees. And one of the things that larger group coverages do that we don't is that they require that the employer pay a certain amount towards their employees' health coverage. They require a minimum participation rate, meaning that if a certain number of employees don't take them up on the offer, then the insurance company is not going to say that that's worth their time. So they're not going to allow the business to do that group coverage. And then they also require a COBRA option, meaning that if an employee leaves, the employer has to offer 18 months of health coverage. Now, the employee has to pay that premium, but the employer has to worry about getting money from an employee who's no longer with the company. So US Health Advisors has none of those restrictions because we're private. So if an employee wants our coverage, then they can get it as a payroll deduction, meaning that the business owner doesn't have to contribute towards that employee's coverage if they don't want to. So if you're just starting out in a business and you don't have the capital to do that, but you want to offer benefits, we're a perfect fit. As your business gets bigger and you decide that you want to start paying towards some of your employees' health coverage, that's a really easy transition for us to make. We don't have minimum participation requirements, meaning that if 1 out of 10 employees wants our coverage, that's fine. And they're technically individual plans. So the employee can take that plan with them when they leave. We switch the payment information, and the employer never has to worry about it. So we make it really, really easy for small businesses to offer benefits without all of the headache and requirements that traditionally come with group benefits.
The more I talk with small business owners and folks like you in industries that have an impact on hiring, well, first of all, we see all kinds of jobs open. We see, depending on what report you read as to the unemployment market and who's out there, who's available. But I've learned that any kind of insurance benefits like you guys provide, that's client retention for me right there. So when you identify, oh, we really want to hire Emily, what else can we do to sweeten the package? And it really
Mhm.
doesn't cost that much.
Right. And in our case, we can make it cost nothing for the business owner. So traditionally, when you're hiring somebody, one of the first questions out of their mouth are, do you offer benefits? Right? Before they ask about salary,
Yeah.
before they ask about hours, they want to know if you offer benefits. And if the answer to that question is no, you are probably not going to hire that
Mm.
employee. And you're also not going to be as competitive with your current employees. It's hard to hire right now because so many employers are coming out there with really strong benefit packages, trying to sweeten the deal, like you said, for employees. So if you're a small business looking to hire in this environment, you're coming at it from a disadvantage if you don't offer benefits. But a lot of small businesses can't afford to do that. So we're able to offer it, like I said, as that payroll deduction. So the business owner is the common payer, but they're taking it out of that employee's paycheck every month. And that employee is getting the benefit tax free. So it really is a perfect solution for small businesses, A, who are struggling to hire, but B, in industries that don't traditionally offer health benefits. I worked in the restaurant industry for many, many years. And generally speaking, they don't offer benefits because
Mm.
it really just doesn't work for their profit model. So we would be an ideal fit for somebody in the restaurant industry because if you've been to a restaurant recently, how many signs have you seen on the door saying, hey, pardon us, we're short
Yeah.
staffed, please be patient. Well, if you offered benefits, it might be a little bit of an easier sell to get those employees in the door.
I would imagine you have quite a few phone calls where you state what you could offer to small business owners, and then there's this long pause.
I think generally speaking, because nobody's ever heard of anything like that,
Mm.
right? I think generally speaking, there's a lot of doubt that we can really be doing the things that we're doing. And it takes a while. I mean, when you're in sales, it takes a while for people to trust you anyway, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you're telling them that you can basically do the impossible, it takes them even longer to trust you. But it's worth it in the end for them because they're able to retain staff that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have retained. They're able to hire in ways that maybe they couldn't before. So it's definitely worth the conversation. People just have to be open to it.
Do they call you before or after they have started their business? I know the answer is to when should they, but do they call you before or after they've started?
Generally, it's after,
Mm,
and they realize how difficult the hiring process really
yeah.
is.
For solopreneurs, do you get many of them? And obviously, you can help anybody. Well, I hate using the word anybody and everybody, but for the most part, you can help a good number of small business owners, even the solopreneurs.
Yes, so we can help, businesses from one employee to 49 employees. Solopreneurs are definitely part of our target market. Again, because if they're not getting benefits through their spouse,
Mm,
then they're out there stuck with the marketplace. So, and even if they do get benefits with their spouse, often those are very expensive plans
yeah.
because the employer subsidizes their spouse's insurance, but not theirs. So, just a couple weeks ago, I was able to save somebody, I don't know, $1,000 a month on their spouse and kids because it was costing them $2,300 a month to be on the employer's plan. I took the spouse and kids off and brought them on to mine and saved them $1,000 a month. I mean, that's not pennies.
Oh, no, that's a huge numbers, but we never knew. Well, okay, so let me back up here. So let's just say you and I are more than an hour apart age-wise. Just a stretch though. The gray hairs from the camera, it's not from my head, okay? But back in our day, everything was black or white and there were limited options.
Mm-hmm.
We went to work for this company and we got this. And if we left and that, we put in our, if it was a week before we could start again, we just heard stories about Cobra. And the only thing we knew about Cobra was it was expensive.
Right. It is very expensive, but I mean, basically, it's the whole cost of your policy,
It-
right? So if your employer pays 50%, now you're responsible for that other 50%. So we hear horror stories about Cobra, and I have definitely seen horror stories about Cobra in terms of pricing, but I've also seen pretty reasonable options. And I think that that just depends on where your employer got their health benefits and how large the business is, because obviously for the insurer, the larger the business, the more reasonable the cost because you're getting more people to pay into the pot.
Yeah, and I'm assuming listening today, there's somebody thinking about starting their own business.
I
W-
hope that there is somebody listening
There
today.
will be, yes, and they will be thinking about starting a business either today or maybe December 1. From an insurance standpoint, what do they need to do for themselves first if they're going out on their own, starting their own business?
Call me. My
Okay,
number's listed on the bottom of the screen.
there you go.
Um, yeah, they need to price some options. They need to price if they're married. They need to price what it would be to get on their spouse's plan.
Mm,
And there's usually an open enrollment period for that, so they need to make sure that that is going to coincide with when they need benefits. There is the marketplace, so they would want to look into the marketplace and compare cost and coverage, and then they would want to talk to me because I'm an honest person. If my plan is not going to be best for you in terms of coverage and price, I'm going to tell you. And then if you've got pre-existing conditions, my plan might not be the best for you. You might want to go for the marketplace or your spouse's plan. So having a trusted, we're health advisors for a reason, having a trusted advisor who can tell you, okay, these are your three options. This is what the pricing looks like. This is what the coverage looks like. This is what I'm reading as the best option for you. Having that person is crucial because health insurance is designed to be confusing and frustrating.
check, check.
Check, check. And having somebody who can just read through the coverage and let you know truthfully what is going to be the best for you is that's a weight off of your shoulders. That's a monkey off your back. Now, I would love to make the sale, but I'm sure you can tell I am not a salesy person. I am an honest person. If we're not the right fit. I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you.
I have learned through the automobile insurance world that many people are underinsured, which that we rarely talk about because
Hmm.
we'll call up, hey, I've got a 2014 fill in the blank car. I just need to get it insured. What's the minimum I can do? So generally, they're going to be underinsured on the road.
Yeah,
Does that same thing happen in your world where people are underinsured?
absolutely. And not so much underinsured, but large out of pocket exposure potential. So high deductibles, high out of pocket expense. If you're on the marketplace and something happens to you in Florida, but your coverage is through Blue Cross Blue Shield with UNC, there is literally no out of pocket maximum if something happens to you in Florida. That's terrifying because no max means you could be out of pocket millions of dollars. I mean, that would be extreme, of course, but you could be out of pocket millions of dollars and there's no safety net for you. With our plans, we build in a safety net that's going to insulate you from those out of pocket expenses. But oftentimes, that is the very thing that people want to cut out of their policies to save on premium. And that's the worst thing that you can do because obviously, just like with auto insurance, you never want to have to use it. But when you do need to use it, you're glad that it's there. And you're glad that somebody has built the policy the way that they have for you. So instead of paying $17,000 out of pocket, you're not paying anything out of pocket.
It's the old I don't need it till I need it. And that's why
Right.
it's not a big deal because I don't need it right now. I'm like, but
And
that,
it's like
yeah.
20 extra dollars a month that
Yeah.
it's going to save you like
Yeah.
$8,000 if something happens.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a lot of months for $20 to add up to 8,000.
Yes. Oh, I agree. I agree. I always enjoy doing intel on my guests for the week, and I go on to the internet and I just start typing
Ooh.
names and see what comes up, and sometimes it's interesting. One of my favorite things, which has happened before, I'll just say it this way, is their name is actually the name of somebody who's been arrested in like 3 different states, not you, but
Oh, but
I've seen
also
others.
me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes, when you Google Emily Jolley, some woman who kidnapped her child in like, I don't know, Ohio or something, and absconded with the child.
Oh,
That is the first thing that comes up when you Google Emily Jolley,
I
which
must have
is
missed that one.
not ideal.
No, no. And
Not
usually,
ideal.
and I thought, well, it can't be the same one because she has an E in her name, and others came up spelling it that way. I don't know why. What was your maiden name?
It's Jolley. I never changed my
Oh,
name.
okay. All right. Fair
Hmm.
enough. Well, easy to spell then. Don't have
Easy
to
to
change the
spell.
towels, things like that, right?
Right. Also, why would I ever change I mean, Emily
I'm
Jolley. I mean, that's
Jolly. Yeah.
just,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. Yep. I like that. Like that. College of Charleston, you got a bachelor of arts in religious studies.
Yes. Hmm.
So, how did we get here?
That's a great question, Mike. How did we get here? Let's see. So religious studies. I mean, I grew up in Asheville. It's a very spiritual place, a lot of curious people there. So when I
Yes.
went to College of Charleston, I just took some elective classes in religious studies. And then before I realized that I had taken mostly religious studies classes. And so it was going to be really easy for me to just go ahead on and get my major in religious studies. It was right after 9/11. So a lot of people were curious about other religions and specifically Islam. So College of Charleston has a great religious studies program. It's not just, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. A lot of my classes were religion after 9/11, Western esotericism. So it kept me interested. And I didn't really plan on doing anything with it out of college, but it got me through college and I enjoyed every bit of it. Um, and then I was working full time in a restaurant when I was in college. And I'm a highly competitive person. So I made sure that I worked my way up to the top. And then I ran that restaurant until I went to Central America to teach English in Costa Rica.
Yep. All right. So hold that right there. We'll come back to Central America.
Okay.
Your first job, what was the name of the restaurant?
It was Papa Zuzu's. It was a Greek restaurant. It was like a galley kitchen. It was basically like in Charleston, there's not a whole lot of space, right? So it was literally an alley that somebody had converted into a restaurant. Probably not two of me would fit with my arms straight out. And there was no air conditioning. There was just a fan that would, pull the heat from the restaurant out into the street. And I loved it. Yeah, I started as a dishwasher and a cashier at the register. And then the cooks would go to the freezer and do things that they shouldn't be doing while at work. And that would leave me in the restaurant by myself. And so when somebody would place an order, I'd have to walk up the alley, go into the freezer, get them, bring them back. So finally, I just decided I'm going to learn how to cook. And that way I don't have to go fetch these idiots every time somebody places an order. And that's what I did. Then
when you first took the job, was it out of necessity for spending money, or did you just want to be in the food industry?
All my friends were getting jobs. And so I got a job too. And I didn't really need one. My parents paid for my college, which, I can't thank them enough for. They paid my bills, which I also can't thank them enough for. But, everybody was getting a job. So I got a job too. I'd always worked in high school. So it just seemed like a fun thing to do. I used to eat at this restaurant all the time. They played, again, I'm from Asheville. So they played bluegrass every day.
Yes.
So that was really appealing. I was vegan at the time. So Mediterranean food, they had a lot of vegan options. So I ate there a lot. I knew the owners, and it just seemed like a good fit.
At the time you were a vegan. Not anymore?
Not anymore.
Okay.
No. Veganism did not last long. About a year because, cheese. I was vegetarian for about 20 years though. Okay. And then I went to visit a friend in Italy, I don't know, probably over a decade ago, and just decided to go for it. No
regrets, not looking back on anything?
No regrets. Meat is delicious, it turns out.
Could have been the deal killer with your husband when you went on your first date, right?
Oh, yeah. He would not, I think, have dated me if I was vegetarian. Vegetarians tend to be picky.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I will say the people I've met from Asheville, I've not spent time there. I've been in and out of there, but I haven't spent any time there. But it is quite the gathering of people. There are tons of festivals there and just all kinds of stuff going on.
It is. Asheville's an amazing place. It is kind of a melting pot of, different ages, different demographics, different socioeconomic classes. And it is, I love Asheville. My parents still live there. I am there pretty often, about once a month. I don't know that I could ever afford to live there again because it's very expensive. But it was a really neat place to grow up.
What is your go-to meal now that you are a certified chef?
I'm not a certified chef.
You are today on this show, yes.
I got promoted to sous chef, but never went to culinary school or anything like that. I just, showed up consistently enough that, somebody gave me some responsibility. But my go-to meal, like a quiche is a great way to clean out your fridge, get rid of some odds and ends of vegetables and cheeses, and budget friendly, and it's delicious. Quiche, slice of quiche, side salad, glass of white wine. There you go.
When you were cooking at the restaurant, did that make you cook more or less for yourself during and after that?
When I first started, more, because I was broadening my horizons. Like I moved here and got a job at the Weather Vane at Southern Season. And Southern Season, RIP, was amazing. Like you could walk in there and find ingredients from all over the world. And so it was super exciting as a new cook who wanted to explore. But towards the end of my tenure there, I got promoted because the executive chef got fired. The former sous chef got promoted to executive chef, then also subsequently got fired. So my 23-year-old self was running a 450 seat restaurant by myself.
Wow.
Which I had no business doing. I was working 9 to 9,
Mhm.
and it kind of killed it for me. Like
Yeah.
I stopped cooking for enjoyment at that point.
Were the executive chef and the sous chef fired? Were those connected to the freezer or not?
Different restaurant.
Okay, right.
Different restaurant. That was in Charleston. And yes, ultimately that was connected to their firing. And in Chapel Hill, no, it was just, Southern Season was running a restaurant without really any restaurant experience. And weren't making great budget choices. So, it was like they let somebody get in real deep and make some bad choices. And then they fired them and then promoted somebody who maybe wasn't super well equipped to be promoted. And then that person was asked to also leave. So it just was kind of a perfect storm of bad choices there. And I was just stuck in the middle, kind of holding the fort.
I would assume on the cook line that chefs, when they're making their own meal for the day, should the restaurant supply them with one, that's where you kind of try out. I really like this dish, but I'm going to try it with this sauce or this side or something like that. I bet some pretty good stuff has come out of that.
Oh, absolutely. So we did like something called family dinner.
Okay.
And so that is when, like at night, all of the cooks, like somebody is in charge of cooking for all of the cooks and the dishwashers. And a lot of good things came out of that. I worked with a mostly Hispanic staff. And so I was never in charge of family meal because they did a better job. And they cooked some really, really delicious stuff that never would have been on the menu at Weather Vane, but probably everybody who would eat at the Weather Vane would have loved it. So a lot of good stuff came out of family meal.
I have heard the phrase in the restaurant or the baking world, I think it's off menu.
Yeah,
Man,
off menu.
that's some good stuff, I bet.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, so we've got go ahead, finish your
No,
story.
you go ahead. You go
Now,
ahead.
I'm changing subject, so finish your story.
No, change away.
All right. So the Hispanic crowd, you're bilingual, correct? Mostly?
Mostly.
All
At
right.
some point, I can firmly say that I am no longer fluent in Spanish like
Okay.
I used to be. Working in a kitchen,
Yeah.
I mean, you're just kind of forced into it. And I'm a decade removed from that.
Okay. But you know when somebody's talking about you in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very helpful. Very, very helpful. All right.
Yes, it is.
So you were about to tell a story when I derailed you about how you headed to Central America.
Yes. So I headed to Central America, to Costa Rica, to teach English. I got there and pretty quickly realized that I did not want to be doing that. So I traveled for 4 months instead, lived in Costa Rica for 2 of those months, Nicaragua for 1, and then made my way up to Mexico and came home from there about 4 months later. So, and then I moved to this area, to the Chapel Hill area.
I've heard Costa Rica's gorgeous.
Costa Rica is gorgeous. My time there was great. I was young. I was, 22 maybe. And I traveled by myself a lot, which is generally speaking not recommended. So if there's any 22-year-old women out there listening, don't do that. But it was great. I had a great experience. I was treated really well. Everybody was really kind and helpful. And I actually just went back in January with my parents and my husband.
And you didn't stay in that job long because
I never took the job. I
okay.
came for an interview. and decided that I didn't want to be living in San Jose, which is the capital.
Mm.
Um, so I decided to travel instead.
Nice. Good call. Your
It
passport
was.
looks nice, right?
Yeah.
A lot of
I've got
stamps
a
on
pretty
it.
full passport.
There
Yeah.
you go. I like that. So your hubby's name is?
Brandon.
Okay. I always like
Brandon.
asking people on the show that are married. Go, yeah, really. I always like asking people on the show that are married. How did you two meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
I think we would tell the story a little bit differently. I met Brandon at the James Joyce in downtown Durham. And I was with my friends on one side of the patio. He was with his friends on the other side of the patio. And I keep catching this guy just eyeing me. I'm like, why is this guy just keep looking at me? So I get up and I go to the bathroom, and we're passing in the hallway, and I hold the door for him. He would argue that he held it for me, but that's not the case. And then it started to downpour. So everybody
Wow.
had to run inside, and there was only one table left because it was Duke graduation weekend. So there was just tons of Duke students at the James Joyce. And so my friends, his friends, and a group of Duke grads grabbed the last table, and we started playing a game. And then the Duke grads realized that they were way too smart for our crowd, and they moved on. And then my husband and his friends and my friends, we went to another place. And it turns out that my husband and I have the same birthday. And that was just kind of it. We were pretty much inseparable moving forward.
So when everybody sits down at the table, when do you start thinking,
Hmm.
interesting?
It really, I mean, we were playing a game, and I'm pretty competitive, and he was also pretty competitive. And so we started competing more against each other than with our teams. And so,
Ah, yes.
yes, yes. And
Uh,
we still do. We play games, and we're extremely competitive. And things turn ugly from time to time. Monopoly boards get flipped,
yeah.
and you know.
Can we assume the Duke people left because they did not excel at Beverly Hills trivia, like maybe Beverly Hillbillies trivia, like you and your husband did?
We can assume that the Duke students left because they realized that they were, a few IQ points smarter than us, and we were only going to bring them down.
Is Brandon from Asheville as well?
No, he is from the Wilmington area, but he grew up here in Durham.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Good blending of the boundaries of the state. I like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Uh,
Western North Carolina,
yeah.
Eastern North Carolina, meeting in the middle.
Yep. Word on the street is you have played Harry Potter trivia before too.
Word on the street would be right.
Yep.
In my BNI, we have James Rippey, who's a photographer, who also bartends at the Glass Jug, which is this local brewery that actually just right down the street from me had their original location. And now they've opened up a downtown one as well. And he invited us to go to Harry Potter trivia there. And so the home inspector in the group, the president, Danielle Cooley, who's the financial advisor, and James and we all played Harry Potter trivia. The first time we played, my team was dead last. Dead last. The second time that we've played, we actually finished right in the middle of the pack. So I think that we can put the Harry Potter trivia to bed, never do it again, but know that we weren't dead last.
And for the record, James is a friend of the show. We had a lot of fun with him on here. He's a hoot. He's an
He is a
absolute hoot.
hoot.
So, the best thing about going to AC Reynolds High School was what?
The music program, chorale. I was in choir every year of my middle school, high school career, and the music program was excellent. The wife was the choir teacher, the husband was the band teacher. They were a powerhouse duo, and subsequently, we had an excellent music program. In my time there, I went to Carnegie Hall twice and sang there.
Wow.
So Doesn't get much better than that.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
I don't really do karaoke.
Oh, you're that good. Oh, now we found the bar. Okay. All right.
No, it's, just I'm not much of a solo performer anymore. I was a little bit of a diva back in my day. But I'm probably a little out of practice.
I'm so glad this is recorded. So you added the phrase in my day. Okay, good. All right. I like
Yeah.
that because I know Brandon would in no way, shape, or form say you're any kind of a diva now. Right. Yeah. So, the last time you sang in public was when?
The last time I sang in public, like by myself? Well, I mean, I worked at a preschool for a decade, so
Okay.
constantly.
There you go. All right. That'll work.
Constantly. Now it was the Itsy Bitsy Spider, but that counts,
Hey,
right?
you got to know what your audience likes, right? Who did you get the singing gene pool from?
No question, my mom
Okay.
and that family. My dad cannot carry a tune whatsoever, which is sad because he really wants to.
Yeah.
My mom, her whole family's musical. My grandparents, my aunts and uncles, that whole family is musical.
Since we're in the cone of silence and nobody can repeat this, your dad and I have seen each other at that meeting of can't sing a lick, but really, really would like to.
Really, really would like to.
There's a lot of people at that meeting, Emily, and it's always,
yeah.
I find it, I admire the people who will sing publicly, even though they know they're horrible, just because they enjoy doing it. But I just don't always need to hear you sing that bad.
My dad has one note. I think he thinks that he's like varying it to go along with the tune, but it's one,
That's why inside our headspace is so good because you're finished like, not bad.
Not bad.
And mind you, all the cousins and grandkids and nieces and nephews have left the house.
He stopped singing publicly a long time ago.
Yeah, and your mom married him anyways, right?
Yep.
Yeah. But that was probably something at the altar she made him repeat in the vows. Now, you and I in a previous conversation were talking about food.
Mm-hmm.
And we both agreed that you should never make cauliflower pizza crust.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, there are just some things that just are wrong, and that violates even rules that haven't been written down yet about pizza.
And, I will say, if you have the tragedy of having to be gluten-free.
True.
And cauliflower is your only option to eat pizza, then by all means, you don't know what you're missing anyway.
Yeah.
If you can eat gluten, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. You can't do that to pizza. You don't have to. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Cauliflower has no place near pizza.
No. So for the gluten-free crowd, we feel for you because you're missing a lot and we understand that. But if you're doing that by choice, you need to go see some counseling.
Something is seriously wrong with you.
Yeah.
Because if you're eating pizza, like you're already making an unhealthy eating choice.
Yeah.
Don't try to make it healthy.
No, gosh, no.
Just double down.
Yeah. It's like caffeine-free Diet Coke. Why?
That's actually the very Coke that my mom buys.
And I drank that for a long time. I went through, this would have been, so I got out of college, 83. So probably almost till about 2000. I just drank Coke. My mom drank Coke growing up, so that's a soft drink I learned on, even though I'm from here. And he eventually started the regular, and then the body goes, might want to try diet, which of course is totally healthy. Everybody knows it because it says diet. And then after a while, it's like, you're probably drinking too much caffeine. You're in your 40s.
Right.
I'm like, no fun. No fun.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than a Diet Coke. I'm just going to say it.
I've not had one in years. I did the smart thing, though, to save my health and my teeth. I shifted straight to sweet tea. Can I get health insurance for that?
Is that much better than soda? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. It tastes way better. Now, if someone were 61 and someone had a pacemaker and someone enjoyed drinking sweet tea, could they get insured?
The sweet tea is not going to knock you out of the running. The
Oh,
pacemaker
yes.
might raise some red flags.
I would. This was years ago, early on at BNI. I was talking with a guy who's a USHealth advisor. I thought, because my wife works for the state of North Carolina, and so our business, we fit into that. I'm on my
Mhm.
wife's plan, which can be a bit pricey.
Yeah.
And so we're having a good conversation, healthy, played sports, you ever non-smoker, social drinker, stuff like that. And then I mentioned pacemaker, and he went, "Oh, we're done." So I'm like, that's just wrong to judge people on that. But I tried to explain to him, I was like, dude, it's keeping me alive. He goes, we're not insuring you, we're insuring the pacemaker. What if it doesn't work that one day? I'm like, no, there's no room for logic in health insurance.
There's no room for logic in health
No.
insurance. I mean, somebody who hasn't gone to the doctor in 10 years, doesn't have health insurance, there's no medical records for them because they don't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
They're going to pass underwriting because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
Somebody who takes care of themselves and
Mm.
asks a bunch of questions of the doctor, their medical record is going to be chock full of red flags, even though they're taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
And they're not going to pass underwriting.
I know. I thought that's a cold, cruel world. So
Health insurance is not about the warm and fuzzies, that's for sure.
no, I started Googling overseas health plans, and that didn't go any better. Sales.
Sales.
You're in sales, right? You know that. Yeah. Which is, cold calling blows.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
So how does somebody get into the health insurance world? Why do they want to do that? How do you get into that? Do you have to be a good salesperson to be in it?
I don't know that I would consider myself a great salesperson. I'm probably a little too forthcoming for that. But ultimately, that is what I'm doing, right? Every time I write somebody a policy, I'm selling them something. But I think that I frame it a little bit differently in my mind. I'm helping someone, right?
Yes, you are.
Even though I'm benefiting from that monetarily at some point. But you don't have to be good at sales to get into health insurance. You do need to have a passion for it, though, because it's a dry business, right? It's tedious to get licensed because the material is very, very dry. You have to be passionate about it, and you have to be passionate about the people that you're helping. Otherwise, it would just be, I think, one of the more miserable jobs.
For some of the folks that are listening and watching today, somebody's going to go, I probably should look at my policy.
Yes.
What's the first couple things they need to look for in their policy to make them think, I probably should call Emily?
So there's three things that you should look for. You should look for your deductible, meaning the amount of money that you have to pay out of pocket before your insurance starts paying. You should look at your co-insurance. So once that deductible has been met, what is the percentage that the insurance company is going to pay moving forward? So traditionally it's, 60-40, which is not good, 70-30, which is not good, 80-20, which is good, and then very rarely 90-10. And then they should also look at their out-of-pocket max. So if something happened to them out of network, what is the max out of pocket that they would spend in the case of an emergency? Those are the three things that you should look at to kind of gauge the quality of your coverage.
And then call you.
And then call me.
And we've been putting Emily's phone number on the screen. Again, she will just tell you. She'll look at it. And because I've had people tell this, I do not have insurance through Emily. Let me say that. But I've talked to people that work with her, and they're like, she'll tell you. If it's good, it's good. If it's not, I can help. So, and
Exactly.
because you're in the education field is really what you are.
It is. And I'm willing to look at anybody's policy and let them know what they've got. I have a family friend who, while I was in Costa Rica in January, is texting me, and she's like, I'm just not sure about my insurance. I just feel like I'm paying for a lot and I'm not really getting much. So she literally sent me her policy documents while I was in Costa Rica, and I looked at them and we had a quick Zoom, and I said, it's not perfect coverage, but it's pretty good coverage. And for what you're paying for, it's great coverage. So I'll look at anything you send my way and tell you the truth about it.
And only real good friends can send you their insurance doc while you're in Costa Rica. So that must be a very good friend. I hope she knows that.
I hope she does too. I hope she does too. Well, I have the privilege of being the GPS navigator, so I had to have the international data. Yeah. So I actually wrote a policy while I was in Costa Rica, answered client questions while I was in Costa Rica because my phone was ringing because it was working. So, we're like hurtling down the, gravel roads of backwoods Costa Rica, and I'm on the phone with a client.
Does USHealth have a office in San Jose, Costa Rica?
They do not. Maybe a mobile office
there you
from
go.
The backseat of a Toyota RAV4.
I'm thinking you could write it off. I mean, if there's a CPA out there that could help, hey, we'd love some input on that. But
that's actually a really good point.
Yeah. Yep. Twice a year you go down there, right? There's a bunch of expats down there.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So you'd have an audience. That wouldn't be a problem. So anyways, folks, if you need help on your insurance or just need somebody to look at yours, we've been putting Emily's phone number up there on the screen. Please give her a call. Emily, have enjoyed it today. Always love the stories. Likewise. Especially, I'm glad you and I will always be connected by cauliflower pizza crust.
Me too, Mike. And thank you for having me on. This has been, not the hard-hitting expose on my, past life that I thought it was going to be. Yeah. So thank you.
Well, I do have a couple of tidbits. I know I've done this long enough. I think you're episode number 169. So I've done this long enough knowing what not to bring up, but I'll trot it out one day in a party setting. Just know that, okay?
That's great. That's great. Yeah, nothing like deep, dark secrets coming to the surface, right?
We all got them. I just type Emily's closet. Poof. Who knew a company came up? I'm like, no, I don't want to buy that. So, but anyways, I've enjoyed it very much, folks. Go take a look at your insurance policy. Make sure you're covered properly and you and your family are covered properly because you just never know. But we've been putting her number up on there. Emily, good seeing you again. I'm sure we'll cross paths on another networking event.
I'm sure we will. Come visit us at Tuesday mornings, Profit in the Park.
There you go. And we will see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.